Morning, Year 9. So today we're getting towards the end of the topic. We're doing factorising algebraic expressions. Factorising means that we're breaking something down to its factors, something times something. So if you're breaking 12 down to 2 factors, you might call it 3 times 4. It's a little bit different with algebraic expressions because we're going to have letters involved there. So when we're factorising an algebraic expression, just something with letters in it, we're going to look for the highest common factor of the two numbers first. You know how to do that from year 7. And then we're going to look for any common letters. If there's something that's common to both terms, we take it out, or to more than 1 to 2 terms, and we take out the common factor, the common letter, and we take out the lower power, and you'll see how that works in a minute. Okay, so we're going to go through a few here. So in the first one we have 3f plus 6. There are 2 terms there. So we're going to look at those 2 terms. And just look at the numbers. So we've got 3 and 6. The highest common factor of 3 and 6 is 3. That's the highest number that goes into 3 and 6. Alright, after that there's no common letters because this has got an F in it, but this doesn't. So there's nothing common for letters. So that's all we take out, and we open up a bracket. So now you've got to imagine that you are multiplying here to get what's inside this bracket. So in the first term, we took the 3 out, so we have an F still left inside. And in the next one, we've got 3 times something, think about it. 3 times something has to give you positive 6. So the sign has to be positive, and the number would have to be 2. Because 3 times 2 gives you 6, and then you close your bracket. So let's look at the next one. We have 24x plus 30. The highest number that goes into 24 and 30 is 6. So we're going to take that out. There are no letters that are common. This has an x, but this doesn't have any letters, so no letters are common. So that's all we're taking out. So think about it. It's 6 times what? Gives you 24. That would be 4. And because we don't take that x out, it still has to be written in here. So if it's not outside, it's inside. Alright, so with the plus 30, it's 6 times something gives you plus 30. Well, the sign would have to be the plus, and 6 times 5 would give you 30. And then close off your bracket. So looking at the next one, there's no numbers here. So you don't need to take any numbers out. But in these two terms, they both have a y. So that's a common letter. We're going to take that out. So then we're going to open up our bracket and think about multiplying. So y times what gives you xy? Well, the y is already outside. The x has to be still inside. And in the next part, the y is out there. Does that mean we've got nothing left? Have to write something. So we'll have to write the plus sign, and if you think about it, there is a 1 here. So the y might be out, but the plus 1 is what's inside. Okay, let's look at the next one. We're looking at the 2 terms. There's no numbers for either of them out the front, so we don't have to worry about the numbers. There is a common letter. They both have x's. So we're going to take the x out. Now remember over here I said if there's sort of 2 lots of x's, you take out the lower power. So this has got x squared, and this is really an x to the power of 1. So we're going to take out that lower power with the x to the power of 1. Then we're going to open up our bracket and think about it. So x to the power of 1 times what? Gives me x to the power of 2. Well, if you remember your index rules, you've got to keep your base and adding the indices when we multiply. So if that's a 1, this will have to be a 1, so that we do 1 plus 1 is 2 up there. Alright? Or you can think of it like one of the x's is outside, so one of the x's has to be inside still. And this one, we took that whole thing out. So remember, we have a 1 in front. I'm going to put that 1 here, because the x to the 1 is already out. Now, you wouldn't write those 1s in the answer, the little 1s up the top. So your answer will actually look like this. I'd like you to write that underneath, not to the side. I just didn't leave enough room for it. Okay, in the next one, we're looking at the two terms. Now we do have numbers here. This is 16 and 12. The highest number that goes into 16 and 12 is 4. They both have an R. So we've got an R squared and a single R. We're taking out the lower power. So we're taking out the single R. Alright, don't forget we're timesing. Now, inside the bracket, so 4 times what gives me 16. That would have to be a 4. One of the R's is out, so one of the R's is still inside. The next one, we put our minus down. The 4 is out, so 4 times what gives you 12? This will be a 3. And the R's already outside, so there's nothing left with letters there. Okay, looking at number 6. So we're looking at 12 and 16 again. The highest number that goes into 12 and 16 is 4. Take it out. Now, any common letters? Yes, we've got X's in both of them. Take out the lower power. So we're taking out the lower power, x to the power of 1. And that's all that's common. This has got a y, but this doesn't, so that's not common. Alright, so we'll put a times here and think. Okay, so 4 times what gives you 12? That would be 3. Now, with the letters, you've got an x out, so you've still got one x in, and you've still got a y in, because you didn't take that out. Then we write our minus. Now think about it. 4 times what gives you 16? That would be a 4. And the x is already out, so you don't write it inside. Alright, looking at the next one. The highest number that goes into 14 and 21 is 7. Take that out. Now we do have some letters that are common. We have a B in both of them, and we have a C in both of them. So we can take out the B and the C. Put your times here and think. 7 times what gives you 14? That's 2. The A was not taken out, so that's still inside. The B was taken out and the C was taken out. So that's it. Next term, put your plus. 7 times what gives you 21? That's a 3. The B's out, the C's out, so we're finished. Now look at the next one. Okay, the highest number that goes into 36 and 144. Now that's a difficult question to do. You'll probably get a question like this wrong unless you sit there and just play with your calculator a little bit. But 36 does go into 144, so 36 is the highest number. So that question's a bit tricky because the numbers are pretty high. So we're going to take the 36 out. Now let's look at common letters. They both have a P, they both have an R. So we can take the P out and the R out as a common factor. Alright, so now we're looking at what's left. The 36 is out, the P is out, the R is out. All we've got left inside is the Q squared on that term. Now looking at the next one, now you might need to play with your calculator on this. So 36 times what gives you minus 144? Well, it'll be minus. Now if you do 144 divided by 36 on your calculator, it will give you 4. That's how many times 36 goes into 144. Now the P is out and the R is out, so we can just close that. Alright, looking at number 9. So 9, 10 and 11 are all probably things that you think, oh good, I'll just expand my brackets. But that's not what the question says. The question says factorise. So I'm telling you now, if you expand it, you'll be just taking the long way around doing this question. So you could eventually get there, but it'll take you a lot longer. We've actually only got 2 terms here, because the only thing that splits terms up are pluses and minus signs. You might go, oh, but there's a minus in there and a minus in there. But if it's locked inside a bracket, you don't look at it. Okay, so we've got one term here. Then we see a plus, then that's the start of the second term. So we have two terms. Now, if you look at this, these two terms both have something common, and that is the bracket a minus 3. So I can take that whole bracket out as the common factor. Now I'm going to write down what's left. So the a minus 3 in this first term is out. All that's left is a, and we write it inside. The next one, look at the term, the whole thing. The a minus 3 is out. We just write the plus 6 that's left. So it actually works out a really easy question if you know how to do it. But if you expand it and then simplify it and then try and factorise it, it'll take you 3 steps to do what we're doing in one. Looking at this next one, that's your first term, and the minus starts the second term. So if we look at the two terms, we do have something common. It's the bracket, g plus 5. So we're going to take that out. So then we're going to write down whatever's left in the other bracket. So in the first term, we took out the g plus 5, so we've still got 3p to write inside. And over here, we took out the g plus 5, we still have minus 2 to write inside the bracket. And that's it, finished. So same thing down here. We've got one term, the plus sign starts the second term, and they both have a common bracket, 8 plus r. Write it down. So let's see what's left. Open up the bracket. You took out the 8 plus r, so we have this r still left inside. Now this other bit's a bit tricky. You took out the 8 plus r, so what have you got left? A plus. Now you're not going to leave it looking like this, because that looks a bit weird. So don't forget that up here you do have a 1. So that's what's left. Now that's the answer. Okay, now in the other ones we're doing 12, 13, 14 and 15. All of those ones start with a minus sign. If they start with a minus, you take out a minus first. So we're going to take out minus is the first thing we're going to write on all of them. All right, let's look at the rest of it. So we've got 4q and 8. 4 and 8. The highest number that goes into 4 and 8 is 4. Write it down. Open up your bracket. And you've got to be careful with the negatives, we don't make a mistake here. So let's think. Minus 4 times what? Well, we took the minus 4 out. We've just got the q left, so write it inside. Now be careful on the next part. Minus 4 times what gives you minus 8. Now, when you're multiplying, it's different signs that give you a negative. Right? Different signs give you a negative. So these signs have to be different. So this will be a plus we're writing here. And 4 times what is 8? That will be 2. Alright, let's look at the next one. 18 and 12. The highest number to go into both of them is 6. Open up your bracket. Alright, now let's think. Minus 6 times what gives you minus 18a. To get a negative answer, you have to have different signs. So this one has to be positive. You don't have to write that in, but I'm writing it in just so you can see it. And 6 times 3 will give me 18. The a has not been taken out, so it's still inside. Now, the next bit, minus 6 times what gives me positive 12. To get a positive 12, these signs have to be the same. So I have to take out a negative. 6 times what gives me 12? That's a 2. So these are a little bit tricky, the ones with the negatives, but if you do it slowly, you can get it. Right? But it does take practice, so if you don't do your homework, you won't understand this. All right, now let's have a look at this next one. We have a common letter here of y. So we're going to take that out. So we're taking out the y, opening up the bracket. Don't forget we're timesing. Alright, so the negative is out, and it's y times what gives you y squared? That would be a y. Or you can think of it as there's two y's here, we've taken one out, but one left inside. Alright, the next part. So when we're doing this one, don't forget, we need to get a minus 9y. You've got a minus here. We need to have a positive there, right? Because we've got two different signs multiplying to give you a negative answer. Now the 9's not out, so that has to be here. But the y is out, so we're closing the bracket. Alright, the next one. If we look at what's common here, we've both got a's, these two terms, so we're going to take out the a with that negative. Alright, let's be careful. Alright, so in the first term, the minus a is out. We're left with a p. Alright, the next one. Now be careful with the signs here. So, minus times what sign gives you a positive? The signs have to be the same to get a positive. So this has to be a negative. The a is out, and we just write the q still inside. And then the answers to the questions. So this does take practice, like I said. You will not get this without doing your homework. You have to practice it to understand it. So this is the last lesson of remote learning. The next time I see you, we will be back in class with face-to-face teaching. So some of you have been working really well, doing all the work and all the homework I've set, so I'm really pleased for you. Our exam's coming up very soon, so I hope you're ready for it. If you haven't been doing your homework, you're going to probably do it real tough in this next exam. So if there's any problems with the homework that you've been having, if you write down a list of the exercises and which question numbers, and don't just say things like, I couldn't do any of it, because I'm not reteaching this. All right? If you want to, feel free to look through the videos again for any part that you didn't understand. But if there's an odd individual question in different exercises you couldn't do, I'm happy to help you out with that. So just make a list and I'll help you out with those next week. Good luck with your homework.